But there was no question about who was the guest of honor here.
China just took a crushing step against Boeing as it revealed the new C929, leaving Boeing's CEO in a complete meltdown. With China set to take over airspace, where does that leave Boeing? China's launch of its domestically developed wide-body passenger aircraft, the C929, is now projected to undertake its first commercial flight by 2035. President Xi Jinping's original intention was to rely on support from the West, but he encountered resistance from Airbus and Boeing. Consequently, President Xi turned to Russia as a new partner. On June 25, 2016, in a deal brokered by him and Russian President Vladimir Putin, COMAC and Russia's United Aircraft Corporation signed a joint venture contract, formalizing cooperation between the two companies on the development of a wide-body passenger jet. The idea of the C929 program began in 2011, but has faced several delays in the design phase. The early design phase began in 2015, which later saw a change in 2017 due to the collaboration between Chinese COMAC and Russian United Aircraft Corporation as part of the 50-50 joint venture between the two countries, which at the time had a great working relationship. On September 29, 2017, the C929 was officially renamed CR929 in Shanghai. C and R represent China and Russia, respectively. 9x9 means longevity based on the homonym in Chinese pronunciation, and 2 indicates that the airliner is being developed by enterprises of the two countries. The Russians originally wanted to use their own IL-96 aircraft as a blueprint for development. The Chinese, on the other hand, insisted on using the Boeing 787, 777, and Airbus A350 as benchmarks for the development of jets with a 2-aisle cabin layout, a range of 12,000 kilometers, and 280 seats. Other disputes arose over international marketing, production location for parts, onboard electronic systems, and procurement of materials and equipment. The tensions between both parties continued, and it seemed like the project was already doomed from the beginning. But that wasn't all the challenges. By September 2020, the fault lines within the partnership had become undeniably visible. An unavoidable misunderstanding emerged as Russia, in a stunning reversal, withheld critical technologies from its Chinese counterparts, and this decision was an audacious power play, insisting on the use of the formidable PD-35 engine despite China's vehement objections. The conflict was no longer a quiet disagreement. It had spilled into the public sphere, with Russia openly airing its grievances against China's unwillingness to keep to its part of the deal. The once promising collaboration now teetered on the brink of collapse, its future consumed by a mutual lack of trust. However, the straw that broke the camel's back was the sanctions banning the supply of Western equipment to Russia's civil aviation industry, which eventually reinforced Chinese doubts about cooperation with Moscow. By the end of 2020, the once gleaming partnership fell to ruin, and in 2023, Russia withdrew from the alliance, leaving COMAC alone in high waters. With Russia out of the picture, China refused to give up on its dreams of becoming the king of airspace. China pushed forward with its plans to produce the wide-body jet this time around by sourcing investors and using homemade parts to finalize its project. China changed the name from CR292 to C929. But how far can they go without an external alliance? Just like America and Europe, China has many reasons to develop and fly homegrown wide-bodies that reflect its status and ambitions, said David Yu, a professor at New York University Shanghai specializing in aviation financing. COMAC, Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China Limited, was incorporated in 2008 with the mission of realizing Beijing's long-term aviation strategy, which is to demonstrate China's ambitions and desires to compete on a larger playing field with American and European big names Boeing and Airbus, with the Chinese leadership convinced that the country needed a complete suite of aircraft to showcase its prowess in advanced manufacturing. And now, years after its founding, COMAC is set to put China on the world's map as one of the major airplane-producing countries. According to the plan, the C929 is set to carry up to 440 people and have a range of 12,000 kilometers, about the distance from Shanghai to New York. Its design is anticipated to bear similarities with existing wide-body models like the Airbus A350 and Boeing 787, as reported, it will match the Boeing 787 Dreamliner and Airbus A350 in some performance metrics. The prototype for this new aircraft is currently under development and undergoing test runs. The vice president of COMAC, Qi Shuifeng, during a recent China Air Transport Association (CATA) aviation conference, expressed his thoughts by saying, "The C929 aircraft has entered into the stage of detailed design. At the same time, we are making efforts in the field of hybrid, electric, hydrogen, and other new energy aircraft to provide more economical, comfortable, and environmentally friendly products." China is set to break records and push its limits far and beyond. But at what cost? And will they succeed? How far gone are they? China's state-owned aircraft manufacturer this week rallied 280 experts and scholars from various industries to seek breakthroughs in building its C929 wide-body long-haul passenger jet amid intensifying competition with Airbus and Boeing. The Shanghai-based corporation COMAC released an update on its official WeChat media handle that it had kicked off a conference with talents from at least 21 universities and 7 aviation companies, amongst others, in an effort to build its largest civil aircraft. It also released another update stating that experts in aerodynamics, airframe structures, electrical and mechanical systems, and propulsion systems would also meet for a week-long seminar. Even though the post was brought down later, the content is already in full circulation in the state media space. At the end of March 2024, COMAC Marketing Director Zhang Xiaogong said that the C929 has entered a crucial stage of its development. Domestic manufacturers are set to be major producers of the raw materials needed in the construction industry. One such manufacturer is the Chinese manufacturer Huarui Aerospace Manufacturing, which was selected in 2021 to build the body of the C929. They are set to release the middle section by September of 2027. COMAC, whose narrow-body C919 began flying commercially last year on domestic routes, has indicated that the C929 would be largely homegrown, with local manufacturers producing the parts needed for the aircraft. This is a new development as opposed to previous aircraft production in the country. This is bound to be a first of its kind, and for such a huge project, the odds are definitely staked high. COMAC also indicated that the widebody will come out with 3 variant offerings: the C929-500, the 600, and the 700. The baseline C929-500 will accommodate 250 passengers in a typical 3-class configuration. The slightly stretched C929-600 will have a seating capacity of 280 people. And finally, the 700, which will have a seating capacity of 440 passengers, which means that its exit limit will be much greater. But how close is China to actualizing this dream? COMAC said that Air China was the first customer for the Chinese plane maker's C929 wide-body aircraft under development, which is designed to compete with twin-aisle models from Airbus and Boeing. COMAC's Deputy Director of Marketing, Liu Yan, made the announcement at China's biggest air show in Zhuhai. Liu did not disclose the number of aircraft that Beijing-based Air China would purchase or plan delivery dates. The C929 project builds on the momentum generated by COMAC's C919 narrow-body jet, which entered commercial service in China in May 2023, less than a year after receiving certification from the Civil Aviation Administration of China. As COMAC advances the C929 through its detailed design phase, the company confronts a complex array of technical, commercial, and geopolitical challenges. The coming years will be critical in determining whether China's new wide-body jet can secure a meaningful share of the highly competitive international aviation market. As the world keeps progressing, China has set its hopes truly high, and when and if it eventually succeeds, Boeing will have to brace up for the competition ahead. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more content like this.